you today. You know, I have a friend of mine and she's pretty explosive. Like, she's always very loud with her emotions. And when we tell her don't be explosive, she kind of gets a little offended because the word explosive has more of a negative connotation and that irks her even more. So I decided to tell her that you're very dramatic. Dramatic? Yes, a better word than explosive. So this is what today's lesson is about. Replacing negative, okay, that means not so nice behavioral vocabulary. So of course there are times you want to describe certain characteristics of people, and those characteristics may not be very positive, but it is important to to not use very negative vocabulary when you describe their characteristics. So let's see what are certain words that we could replace and make that particular characteristic sound better. So the first one is short attention span. Now what is short attention span? Someone who cannot focus on one thing for a very long period of time. Now it could be you are at a project at work and beyond half an hour or an hour you just lose interest and you kind of you deviate, you start looking into your phone or you research or you play a game. So basically you have a short attention span. That means nothing captivates you for too long. Not a very positive word. I mean, imagine if someone came and told me, Rachna, you have a very short attention span. That means I'm not a very focused person. Well, so you could replace it by many interests. Now, for example, a teacher tells a parent that your child has short attention span. Now, that could be a little offensive. What she could say is, your child has many interests. That means he cannot stick to one thing for a very long time. So, yes, use many interests instead of short attention span. The next one says irresponsible. Well, this is one of the most offensive adjective you could use to describe someone. I wouldn't like to be called irresponsible. So if a manager has to tell his subordinate that you are very irresponsible, that could create further animosity between the two. So well, do not use irresponsible. What you could use is carefree. Now look how the whole meaning changes. So the manager tells his subordinate, Richard, you are very carefree about your work. Still a little better than irresponsible. I mean, imagine you're very irresponsible, not nice. You're very carefree. Well, a better word than irresponsible, and it's a nice way to give feedback when you want to tell someone that you are irresponsible. Yes? The next one is hyperactive. Now, hyperactive is a person who is highly energetic. He cannot sit in one place. He needs to talk a lot. He screams, he yells. So active beyond normal, tendency. Now, hyperactive again is it has more of a negative connotation because it shows that it is over and beyond a normal tendency. Okay, so if I have to tell my little niece that you are very hyperactive, can't you just sit quietly? I don't think people around would like the idea. But if I tell her, wow, you are very energetic for your age. So obviously energetic means a person who has high levels of energy, and obviously that means he is hyperactive. So if I tell my niece that you are very energetic instead of you're very hyperactive, maybe people would look at it more positively. Okay, now I'm sure at work you have certain colleagues who are very, playful and full of mischief and who play pranks all the time, who just can't sit still even for 2 minutes. Instead of calling them hyperactive, what you could say is, this group of my colleagues is very energetic. So remember friends, always try to use more positive adjectives even when you describe negative characteristics of people. The next one says loud. Well, avoid using loud because loud means someone who's very, not only vocal but also very boisterous and likes her presence or his presence to be felt. So imagine if you say, oh God, you're too loud, I can't stand you. That's rude and that's more of a negative meaning. The nicer way to say is, you are very enthusiastic. So enthusiastic again means that you're the one who is initiative, takes initiative, for everything, and who is also very boisterous. But again, you don't use the word like boisterous and loud. But enthusiastic again means who's very participative in everything. And a better way to say loud, because loud by and large has a negative connotation. So if you tell someone you're loud, they could get pretty offended. But if you say, oh, you're pretty enthusiastic, well, it would be taken in a better way than loud. Okay, so the next one is stubborn, a complete negative adjective. Now, stubborn, you know who is stubborn? Stubborn is a person who just doesn't want to listen or take advice from others. He has his own set of thoughts, and probably even fixed concepts, and doesn't want to listen. He doesn't want to budge. I will do what I want and I will do it my way, and it has to happen my way. So there are people who don't really like to adjust or are not flexible, and do not budge from their opinions. So someone who is stubborn is definitely someone who's very difficult to handle and deal with. And well, trust me, most people are stubborn. I am, but just a little bit, not too much. Yes. So if you tell someone you're stubborn, and even if you say it to a child, they could get pretty angry, because stubborn is not a very positive adjective. So instead of using stubborn, all you could say is you are persistent. Now imagine you are at your feedback appraisals at work, and your manager tells you, your work is good, but you're very stubborn. I mean, you would not take it too well. But if he says your work is good overall, but you're a little persistent, that would be a better feeling, because nobody likes to be called stubborn. So when you want to tell someone, or when you want to talk about someone being stubborn, the better word to use is persistent. That is the same thing. They're headstrong, and basically they like their own way. Yes? Next is poor planner. This planning is a very important part, especially when you're working. So you need to plan your day. It could be plan your week, plan meetings, or plan for targets for the next 3 months. And if you're someone who cannot forecast or cannot see things clearly or have a fixed plan that you would like to go by, that means you're a poor planner, and probably you just take things as they come, each day at a time. So there are a lot of people who do not get into planning, so they are poor planner. But if you tell someone, and especially if you tell someone at work, or if you talk about your senior and say, he always gets things done last minute, he's a poor planner, it's not a very good thing to say, and it's not a good way to describe your seniors at work. So what you could say is, he is present focused. Now, present focused means he only lives, like for the day, by the day, and doesn't think too much into the future, or doesn't plan too much about the future. So present focused means he's someone who focuses only in the present, for today. He lives in the now. Yeah, so he is right now, here today, and he only has things in his basket for today. He does not look into the future. So remember, poor planner, better word to use is present focused. Okay, friends? Well, the next one is disorganized. I think most of us are disorganized, or somehow we just kind of happen to be disorganized. None of us like it, but I think many of us fall into this category. Disorganized is someone who doesn't, who's not organized. It could be his cupboard, his room, his office desk, his cabin, anything, or even his own structure in the head, You're not organized, you're disorganized. Again, a very negative way to describe someone. So if you say that my friend is disorganized at work, or my friend's cupboard is completely disorganized, believe me, it's not a very nice thing. What you could say, and a better and a more professional and a positive word, is unstructured. Okay. So for example, if I'm at a meeting, and if I tell you, if I say that I am very disorganized in my head with a lot of thoughts, I mean, obviously I'm not speaking too well about myself, But if I say I'm unstructured with my thoughts, it is better than using the word disorganized. And that is how this replaces disorganized in a better way. Anxious, okay, something that all of us feel, and we do feel anxious when we take big decisions in our life. Now, anxious comes from anxiety. Yeah, so it's a feeling of nervousness, a little fear. You have butterflies in your stomach. It could be before your examination results. It could be when you join a new job. It could be during your appraisals. It could be you've done something wrong at work and now you're heading to your boss's cabin. So you feel anxious. Now, for example, if I'm taking a big decision, obviously I'm going to feel anxious. So instead of saying I feel anxious, I'll say I'm cautious. Cautious means you do not rush into things, and obviously an anxious person will be cautious. He will be careful before he takes a step. So remember, avoid anxious, use cautious. Okay? And the last word for today is disobedient. Complete no in your vocabulary list. Do not call anyone disobedient. Now, disobedient is someone who just doesn't listen and doesn't take your advice and again does his own thing. So if you tell him to do A, he will do exactly the opposite. Now, kids can be disobedient, employees can be disobedient, your friends can be disobedient, you can be disobedient to your doctor also and not take his advice. So someone who just doesn't like to listen. Okay. Again, if someone tells me that I'm disobedient, I'm not going to take it in my stride. So what he could say is, you are self-directed. Now, obviously, someone who is disobedient, does not like to listen, will do what he wants. That means he directs himself to do things his way. So a better word to use is self-directed. So if you talk about your children being disobedient, all you could say is they are self-directed. Find something more positive, something better. So well friends, these are the list of negative words that could be replaced by positive ones. I'm sure you could use these in your daily conversation. I'll be back soon with a new lesson. Till then, take care and bye.